Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah wa kafa, wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم ربي يسر ولا تبصر وأمن بالخير بك نستعين ربي زدني علما يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح. So Alhamdulillah, after a short break we are back in our sessions. We, Alhamdulillah, by permission of Allah, we started a series on Ashra Mubashara. Ashra Mubashara are those companions of Rasulullah who were given the glad tidings of Jannah by Rasulullah in this dunya. These Sahaba Ikram, the companions of Rasulullah radiyallahu ta'ala ajma'een, were those honored individuals who got the ultimate gift of Jannah in this dunya. Besides Allah and Allah's Messenger, nobody can declare anyone as person of Jahannam or a person of Jannah. No one has that right. Only Allah knows who is in Jannah and only Allah knows who is in Jahannam. And if we do something good in this dunya, we have no right to think that those who in our opinion are doing any less should not go to Jannah or should have a less status in Jannah. Because we have no one to judge what other person is doing. What we may be thinking that the other person is doing less, there may be something that he is doing which is hidden to us, but in sight of Allah is great. What we should have iman on is that Allah is munsif, Allah is just. Whoever He will decide to go into Jannah out of His rahmat is fully deserving of going into Jannah, and whoever He decides to be put in Jahannam was deserving of being put in there. Moreover, we should only be worrying about where we end up. Jannah is not our house built on few square meters that we should be worried that if I come in and he comes in and he comes in and she comes in and they come in, then maybe there's shortage of space. Jannah is way broad, and whoever Allah has written it for will have ample space without the other getting anything from your share or you getting anything less because others had to, have some share in what you would. So please do not worry about these things. Rather focus on what can I do to please Allah so that I earn. We started with Sayyidina Usman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the third on the list of Ashra Mubashara, the third of the Khulafa of Muslims after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The best of the Khulafa of Muslims have been Khulafa Arba, the first four Khulafa al-Rashideen, the guided Khulafa. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, alhamdulillah, we got to know about him. Sayyidina Umar bin Farooq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, we got to know about him. And Sayyidina Usman bin Affan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, we started his story, but his was a bit longer than the others, so we had to split it in two parts. What we learned about Sayyidina Usman was that what honorable personality he had, how generous he was, how much Rasulullah loved him, how he was given the honor of two daughters of Rasulullah being married to him, how he had the honor of doing two hijras, how he was such a shy individual, he had such haya in him that even the angels were shy of him. We got to know about how he had helped Muslims in occasion, and how based on his generosity, Rasulullah had made many a dua for him on many different occasions. We also got to know that Rasulullah had given him the Bashara of Jannah many a times in his life as well, besides that one occasion of which we mentioned this hadith from. One incident which we didn't get to talk about in the last session was the incident that happened on the occasion of Hudaybiyah. when Rasulullah decided, this was 7th Hijri or 6th Hijri, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, I'm confusing the dates. Rasulullah decided to, he saw a dream that Muslims were doing the tawaf of Kaaba, so he saw that as a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we should go and do the Umrah. Therefore the Muslims, they put on the ihram and they went to, and this was still the time when there was no truce between the Muslims and the Mushrikeen of Makkah. They were still at war with each other. However, because this was a religious activity, they were hoping that because many people come and do Tawaf of Kaaba, so Muslims would go and do Tawaf Umrah as well, and they would not be stopped. So they reached a point called Hudaybiyah, which is a few kilometers away from Makkah, and the Makkans, they were informed that the Muslims are coming. So they weren't sure whether they are coming in disguise to come and attack us, or whether they are genuinely coming to do Umrah. And also they felt a bit humiliated that as the custodians of the house of Allah, of Makkah, they had not given them the permission to come and do it. So how can they just turn up on their own without being invited or without seeking the approval to come and do it? So they sent in the army and they said that it would not proceed from this point. So it was decided that ambassador of Muslims should go and should do some dialogue or negotiations with the head of Kuffar, the Mushrikeen, and make it possible for Muslims to come and do the Umrah. Rasulullah wanted to send Sayyidina Umar to go and represent the Muslims. But Sayyidina Umar said to Rasulullah that, Ya Rasulullah, I was one of those who had suggested in Badr that those who had been captured in Badr should be killed. So they have a huge grudge against me. And if I go alone, it is very likely that as opposed to engaging in any negotiations with me, they would either keep me in prison or will execute me, which of course he wasn't afraid of either, but that meant that would have, please. अस्सलाम वालेकुम। जी वालेकुम सलाम। फिर डिस्कनेक्ट हो गई, उसी तरह दोबारा से कनेक्ट कीजिए। हाँ कोई मसला आया हुआ फिर मैं चेक करूँगा क्या वजह है। तो आप अभी दोबारा उसी तरह कनेक्ट करने उसको ना एक काम करें, उसको फ़ोन से डिस्कनेक्ट कर दें, क्योंकि वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो रहा होगा तो वो फ़ोन पे दोबारा कनेक्ट हो जाते हैं, एक वक्त ना दोनों नहीं कनेक्ट होते। जैसे यहाँ से भी डिस्कनेक्ट किए थे ना, हाँ चले फिलहाल उसको फ़ोन, हाँ पहले फ़ोन से कर देना, फिलहाल फ़ोन से डिस्कनेक्ट कर दें ताकि, ठीक है, क्योंकि फ़ोन पे तो कम ही इस्तेमाल होता है ना। चलो जी ठीक, मुझे बताइएगा जी। सॉरी, सो what was I saying?
The Battle of Hadeeth.
So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu wasn't afraid of being executed or being captured, but he said that that would not achieve the objective. So it's better we send somebody who would be able to carry out these negotiations. And then it was decided that the best person to do this job would be Usman radiallahu ta'ala, because he was a generous person and he had helped many people in Makkah Mukarramah, given a loan to someone, helped somebody out in some congregation or something or the other. So there was a lot of, they were in debt of Sayyidina Usman for many different things. And one thing about the Arabs was that if they were indebted to somebody for something, some favor, they always returned the favor. And they regarded the favors a lot. They said that you have done this favor to me in past, therefore I will. Many stories you will find that they would always regard the people who had indebted them in past. So Sayyidina Usman went as the ambassador of Rasulullah to Makkah Mukarramah, and over there he negotiated with them that we are here to do a worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not here to fight. We are not here to there's no war that we are declaring. We are just here to do Umrah. We are in Ihram and we want to do Umrah and leave. So please allow us to do Umrah. They said that the biggest problem that we are facing is that it would be a major embarrassment for us in the entire community that the Muslims came on their own and did Umrah without you or us giving permission to them beforehand. And we cannot afford that this international embarrassment comes on us. So you go around and next year you come and then you can do the Umrah. This year there's no way that you can permit you because it's an international issue and we will be mocked everywhere. So they didn't permit. So Usman stayed with them for a couple of days and tried to back and forth, but they said that, you know, the bottom line is this: we can't do it. He said, however, since you are here and, you know, we regard you a lot, you do the Umrah, no problem. So they gave him the permission to do the Umrah, but Sayyidina Usman said that no, I've come to do Umrah with Rasulullah, and I will only do Umrah with him. There's no way that I can do Umrah on my own. Then somebody spread the rumor that Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu have been prosecuted, he has been shaheed in Makkah Mukarram. And this spread like wildfire, and it reached the Muslims who were a few kilometers away, and Muslims were now very saddened by this news. Rasulullah was saddened by this news that, you know, they've killed Usman, who had gone as an ambassador. And this was a protocol, you know, back from many times, that when somebody goes as an ambassador, you don't do anything to the ambassador. You know, don't kill the what's the saying? Yeah, don't kill the messenger. You know, like he's just there to pass the message. So anyways, they did that. Now Rasulullah said that we will not go back without actually taking account of Usman's death. So Rasulullah on that occasion made all the Sahaba do bat with him of Baitul Jihad on that we will go and take revenge of Usman's Shahadat. This bat is known as, this was bat that was done under the tree of Ridwan, and this bat is called Baitul Ridwan. Baitul Ridwan is a very famous bat that Rasulullah did. At that point in time, there were in total 1400 Sahaba who were with him. All 1399 Sahaba did the bat except one who was a munafiq. And when he got to know that Rasulullah is about to do the bat for jihad, he said, "Oh, I've lost my camel, where's my camel? Let me go look my camel." And he, you know, just went around to look for his camel and skipped the bat. When he was about to do the bat, he said that my heart tells me that Usman is still alive. So he said that, and I know that if Usman was here, he would have done the bat with me. So the way they did bat was that Rasulullah would put his hand like this, right hand, and everybody would put their hand on top. Right? So this was the way of doing bat. So Sayyidina Rasulullah put his hand like this, and then when everybody else has put their hand on, Rasulullah said that he put his left hand on top, and he said that I represent Usman, and this left hand of mine is the hand of Usman. So he included Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu in this bat as well. And then on this occasion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent an ayah down as well, and he said, Yadullahi fawqa aydihim, that the hand of Allah is on top of their hand. So this was a bat that was so strong that even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was, you know, of course we don't know what does that mean, but, you know, figuratively speaking, had his hand on top of this bat as well. And then of course the memorandum of Hudaybiyah, which is called Sulh Hudaybiyah, that got signed. Usman radiallahu came back. It never turned into a battle, but this Baitul Ridwan was a major incident that happened with regards to Sayyidina Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. One of the other things that I forgot to mention in terms of the generosity of Sayyidina Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu was that he also took on him the entire spending of Sayyidina Ali's wedding. He was the sponsor of Sayyidina Ali's wedding. To who? To the daughter of Rasulullah Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala. So when Rasulullah announced to Ali that I have been told that I should marry my daughter to you, make arrangements for it, Sayyidina Ali came out and he was really sad. He was really worried, because Usman radiallahu ta'ala passed by him. He said, "Why are you so, you know, sad?" He said, "And why are you so worried?" He said, Rasulullah has asked me to marry his daughter, but I have nothing on me. I don't even have to pay, you know, for the walima, so let alone do anything else. So he said that, you know, don't worry about it. I will take full responsibility of your wedding. And he then helped Sayyidina Ali get married to Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu. He was such a generous person that he would free a slave every Friday. Every Friday he would free a slave. And if on some occasion he could not do that, then on the next Friday he would set 2 slaves free. So his generosity knew no bounds. He was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him a lot and he spent a lot as well. Now we come to the next phase of Sayyidina Usman's life story, which was him as the Khalifa of Muslimin. Sayyidina Usman was a very successful Khalifa and there was a lot of prosperity. There are two Khalifas under which Islam had prospered a lot. The first was Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and the second was Sayyidina Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu as well. When Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu got shaheed, Sayyidina Umar had already established a council which was comprising of the Badri Sahaba, the Fiqh, the Sahabas who were considered to be ulama and fuqaha, and the senior Sahabas were in part of that Shura. The council was called Shura, and all the major decisions were done in discussion with those Sahaba Ikram radhiyallahu ajma'in. All the main state level decisions were taken in that was, and this basically is the model of Islamic governance as well. Our governance model is not democracy where anyone can stand up whether he is qualified, not qualified, and based on his popularity in the people he can get qualified to become representative of everyone. Islamic model of governance is that people who are qualified, people who have an understanding of governance, who have, of course, when we look at the councils who were built by Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and so on, later on, you will see that the Sahaba Ikram who were part of the Shura, the biggest thing that was outstanding about them, that was they were people of taqwa. All the Ashra Mubashara were part of this council. They were all Badri Sahabi. So those who exhibited the highest moral standards, and they were all technically very sound people as well. So they were ulama, sulaha, they were in their respective fields. They were traders, who were successful, accomplished people who were masters of their trade. They were in the council, and then if later on somebody acquired that position, he was promoted into the council as well. So they were the ones who ran the affairs of the state. So from that Shura, it was appointed that Sayyidina Abdul Rahman bin Auf, he was appointed by the Shura members to decide who would be the next Khalifa after Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And the Shura appointed him, and he then carried out the exercise where he went to all the Shura members, took their opinion, went to all the fuqahas, went to all the major people of influence at that time. And he even went to Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he asked him that what is your opinion, that besides you, who is the best person for this appointment? And Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that in my view, at this point in time in Ummah, there is nobody better than Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu to take this responsibility. So as he said that, Ali radiallahu ta'ala said that the Abdul Rahman bin Auf put his hand on the hand of Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he said that I take my bath with you for you to be the Khalifa of the Muslimin. And as he did it, then all the other Shura members did it as well, and then he was appointed the Khalifa. There's a logical, if you recall, I mentioned the Hadeeth in which Sayyidina Rasulullah was once sitting on the well, and then Abu Bakr Siddiq came first, Umar radiallahu ta'ala came first, and then Usman radiallahu ta'ala came as well afterwards. There are many occasions which have indicated the order of these four ones. But there is one logical argument that is also presented in favor of Sayyidina Usman, and that is that Sayyidina Usman, the people who are deserving of any inheritance are the ones who are the closest to the individual. So from that perspective, the closest relationship, apart from your sons, because there was no son, is that of your. If you think about it, there were the two people, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, Sayyidina Usman, were the father-in-law of Rasulullah, and Sayyidina Usman and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu were the son-in-laws of Rasulullah. So between father-in-law and son-in-laws, father-in-laws have more right. So Abu Bakr Siddiq was the first, Umar radiallahu anhu was the second, and then in the son-in-laws, Sayyidina Usman had two daughters. So he had first preference over But this is just one logical argumentation. The way he became the Khalifa was through the Shura, which selected him with after consultation of all the key members. As there was total 12 years that he was the Khalifa of Muslims, and they were very prosperous years. Many great accomplishments happened in that period. One of the biggest accomplishments was that Quran as we know it now, was compiled in this form by Sayyidina Usman radiallahu anhu. The first compilation of Quran happened in Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq's time, but at that time the only thing that was done was that from the different stones, leaves, leathers, all the ayats were collected, put together in different surahs, and then those surahs were put together, collected in one place. So just the collection of Quran was compiled together in the time of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq. Sayyidina Usman, he was the first to have it all written down on leather in form of the 30 juz that we have, in form of the orders of the surahs that we have today, and accommodating all the 7 huruf on which the Quran had come down on. So the Quran that we have now, and then anything else that was there at that point in time, he had gotten it all burned so that there was no confusion left that, because as Islam was spreading, people were starting to confuse things. So again, this was not done by Sayyidina Usman on his own. He had established a committee, and that committee had done this work, which was approved by the Shura, and then it was given the final go-ahead. So it's not his individual role, but it was naturally, as the leader, the honor goes to him that he had set that commission for him. So all the Quran that we read today, the reward of it goes to Sayyidina Usman as well, because he compiled it all together. Another accomplishment that he done was that whilst Sayyidina Umar was very successful in spreading Islam, it was still restricted to, all the way up to Syrian Peninsula, including the Baitul Muqaddas and all those areas. Sayyidina Usman took it further. He took it into what is Russia today. So all these eastern states, so what is Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Central Asia, all of those were also now coming into the fold of Islam. So much so that under his state, under his rule, the Muslims had even penetrated into China. So this was a great accomplishment that he had done. Another great accomplishment that he had done was that he extended Masjid al-Nabawi. So the first land of Masjid al-Nabawi was bought by Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq. He bought the land from 2 orphans and he gifted it to Sayyidina Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sayyidina Ayyub Ansari was the one who did that. Sayyidina Umar, Abu Bakr Siddiq participated in it and expanded it. But Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq was the one who stretched it out further. So the first major expansion of Masjid al-Nabawi was done by him. Another thing that he did was that when Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu got shaheed in the masjid, he felt that it was important that the Imam should have a separate passage to come and exit from the masjid. He should not have to come from the public. So he created a mihrab and allowed an entrance through that mihrab for the Imam to come in. So in all the mosques now where there's a separate entrance for the Imam, that was one of the things that Sayyidina Usman had done there. So he also initiated the 2 azans in Jummah. Now in Jummah there are 2 azans that take place. Sayyidina Usman was the one who initiated that because the Muslims had become more and it took more time for them to come. So he decided that as soon as the Zawal time starts, 1 azan should be done at that time, and then the second just before the start of khutbah. So like we see it over here, that as soon as the Zuhr time happens, the first azan happens, and then at 1:15 when the khutbah is about to start, the second azan takes place at that time. So as I said, that his first 6 years were very successful, but in this next 6 years, one or the other incident started happening, and it led to a point which eventually led to his shahadat. How that incident happened was that there was a governor in Anything left for you, Umar, or?
I just wanted to come see you. I won't leave.
If you want to go take your mom, then don't wait.
She said to me, "You go spend time with her." Although she saw, I just wanted to come. I just leave in 10 minutes.
Sure.
Just wanted to see your face.
So, Jazakallah, but give time to your mother. Take it. Give time to your mother.
10 minutes.
And tell your mom I said that give time to your mother. So what happened was that there was a governor in Egypt. That governor was a very strict individual, and people were sort of getting up to their necks with him. So they requested that please have him changed. So Sayyidina Usman, he did mashwara, and it was said that the son of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Muhammad bin Abu Bakr, he is a good individual and would be a good replacement for him. So he should be appointed. So Sayyidina Usman, he wrote a letter and he called Muhammad bin Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he said that, I want to appoint you as the governor of Egypt. Here's a letter. Take this letter to the governor. In that letter, it was written that when you see this letter, you hand over the charge to the person who has brought this letter, and you come back to me to Medina. So he said that, you go and take over the responsibility. Now, Umar bin Abu Bakr, he was a wise person. He said, if I go alone, he will probably not agree with me. So let me take some other Sahaba with me who can agree to this, vouch that this is indeed generally a letter from the Khalifa and Amirul Mu'mineen, and it also would act as a safeguard for my own safety. However, while they were en route to Egypt, a very strange incident happened. One of the places where they were stopping over, they noticed that there's somebody who was going, on a camel, like making the camel run, and that was an unusual thing. So they chased that person and got hold of that person. It turned out that that person was one of the slaves of Sayyidina Usman, and the camel that he was riding was also one of the Sayyidina Usman. So they said that, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Egypt. He said, why are you going like in this, secretive manner and in such a speedy manner? He said, I've been given a special task, so I have to go. He said, no, there's something wrong. So they got hold of him, took him to Sayyidina Muhammad bin Abu Bakr and they said that, this is the case. We find that these people are, this man is going to Egypt in a very secretive manner. We suspect that there's something wrong somewhere. He's not coming out clean. So they said, okay, do a search of his, everything he's carrying, and search him out. So they found a letter on him, and that letter had said that this is my slave. I'm sending this letter to you to inform you that Muhammad bin Abu Bakr is coming to you to ask you for the governorship. When he comes to you, kill him and remain as the governor. Signed by Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, stamped by Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So they were now utterly confused. They're like, this is a slave of Abu Bakr, Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, camel of Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, letter of Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, signed by Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, stamped by Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and yet he has sent me and with all these Sahaba to come and take charge. So what is going on? Who's playing who? So they did mashwara and they said that let's go back to Medina Munawwara and find out what is the real story. So they came back to Medina Munawwara. Now when they came back to Medina Munawwara, they went to Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu and he said that, is that your slave? Is that your camel? He said, yes. He said, is this your letter? He said, this stamp is definitely mine. But he said, so have you sent this letter? They said, he took an oath by Allah. So when he took an oath by Allah, obviously they believed that, this Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu is saying the truth. But they said that somebody in your office has used your signatures, has used your stamp to do this. So there's definitely somebody within your close circle who has done this. And he wanted that there should be some facade that should happen. And we need to investigate that who is this. So Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that, okay, I'll do the investigation. Now these people suspected that there is one close relative of Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Marwan, who has actually done this. They asked that Marwan should be handed over to us. We will find out from him whether he has done it or not. Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu feared that if I hand over Marwan to them, they'll probably kill him. So he said, no, give me time, I will do the investigation. Whether that investigation takes 2 days, 3 days, 5 months, 10 months, 1 year, 2 years, I will do the investigation. I'll let you know what it is. These guys did not agree to it. Now, this became the point of fasad. This became a point of disagreement, and now there were two parties. One was the party who was going to Egypt, and that included people of Egypt, because there were people who had come to inform that we need a new governor and all of that, and they had become party of Muhammad bin Abu Bakr Siddiq, going with him to. So there were Egyptians along with Muhammad bin Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu's party, and they were the ones who were demanding that this should be done. And they said, if you don't give us to him, we will do not only a boycott of you, we will also surround your house till you give this person to hand over this person to. Now they basically cordoned Rasulullah. They circled the house of Usman radiallahu anhu, and they basically did a house arrest. Now the rest of the Sahaba, they would be very worried, and they kept on telling Usman radiallahu anhu that, you know, this is you are the Khalifa. All you have to do is, these are maximum 100 people who are doing this. All you have to do is just give us the go ahead. We will take care of this. So Usman radiallahu anhu kept on saying that I do not want that because of my personal reasons there should be any bloodshed in Medina Munawwara. So I will deal with these people on my own. However, these people took this as a sign of weakness, and they kept on becoming more and more aggressive. So much so that they put a complete halt of any food or water coming into the house of Usman radiallahu anhu. And there came a stage that Usman radiallahu anhu, one day he came to his rooftop and he said, that is Zubair there? Zubair radiallahu anhu wasn't there. Then he came and he said, is Talha there? Talha radiallahu anhu wasn't there. He said, is Ali there? So Ali radiallahu anhu was nearby. He said, I'm here. He said, Ali, you tell me, am I not the one who once bought the well for the Muslims and then gave it to the Muslims for free so that they can have water? Were you witness to that? He said, I am witness to it. He said, me and my family have had not water to drink for 3 days. So is this, you know, this, how should we be treated? So Usman Ali radiallahu anhu got really hurt by this, and he forced water to be sent, and those who were carrying the water to their house, they were murdered. But anyhow, the water eventually reached to the house of Usman radiallahu anhu. Abdullah bin Salam, he gave the mashwara to Usman radiallahu anhu that you should migrate to Makkah Mukarramah. The people of Makkah will protect you. They will not let anything come to you. And in the meantime, in Medina Munawwara, these few people who have stood up against you, they will be taken care of. He said, I do not want any bloodshed to be done in Haramain because of myself, so let it be. I'll deal with them. He said that I have done the migration from Makkah Mukarramah to Medina Munawwara. I do not want to do the migration again and cancel my migration, for which there was great reward. And one opinion came that why do you not step down from as the Khalifa? If you step down as the Khalifa, maybe this will end entire problem. So Usman radiallahu anhu said that I heard Rasulullah say to me once that Usman, a dress would be given to you, and there would come a time when people would ask you to take off that dress. Usman, do not take off that dress. Do not take off that dress. Do not take off. So he said, Rasulullah told me about this, and I see that this is that occasion. So I do not want to take off the dress of Khilafah that has been given to me. Then this isolation, this cordon of Sayyidina Usman went on for some time, and then one day Usman radiallahu anhu saw Sayyidina Rasulullah in his dream, and he said to Usman radiallahu anhu that Usman, I am waiting for you. Usman radiallahu anhu was fasting. He said, Usman, I am waiting for you, and I want you to come and do your iftar with me. So Usman radiallahu anhu knew now that his shahadat had come near, and it would happen anytime. So Rasulullah had already informed him about him being shaheed. Remember that incident I told you that, you know, they were standing on Ahmed, and he said that two shaheed and one Siddiq is standing on you. So he already knew, but now he knew that this would be the occasion on which he would get shaheed. So Usman radiallahu anhu had already asked the Sahaba to go and stay in their house. So everybody was not in the vicinity as well. But what they had done was that they had sent their sons to be the guard around Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu's house. So Hassan and Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Abdullah bin Zubair, the sons of the Sahaba Ikram, they were basically doing the guard duties around the house. So the people weren't able to enter into the house directly through the door because they were young Sahabas who were doing the protection around that house. But these people, these troublemakers, what they did was they entered into the house of another Sahabi, which was connecting to the house of Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and through the wall they climbed into the house of Usman radiallahu ta'ala. And there were 4 people who had entered, and in that was Muhammad bin Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu as well. They entered the house and he said to Usman that, tell me, did you order for my murder or not? So he said that, no, I had not ordered for your murder. I already told you so. He became aggressive. Muhammad bin Abu Bakr Siddiq, he became aggressive and he started shouting. So Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu said to him that, oh Muhammad, come to your senses. Think about that if your father was standing over here and looking at you to shouting at me like this, what would have he thought of you? As he said that, it struck his heart and he left. The 3 that were left were from outside of Medina, Egypt or whatever area. They were not the people of Medina. And they didn't want to let go of this occasion, so they had this steel bar and they took that steel bar and they put it on the head of Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu and they split his head. And Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu was reciting Quran at that point, and his blood that spat out of his head came on the Quran, and to this day that Quran is preserved with his blood on it. And subhanallah, the ayat on which it came down was فَسَيَكْفِيكَهُمُ which basically means that in your favor we will soon take revenge from them. All the other shuhada, the earth will be the witness for them that, Ya Allah, this person gained shahadat in your name. For Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Quran will be the witness that, Ya Allah, he attained shahadat in your name. And he was a Shaheed Mazloom. Shaheed Mazloom, he was an innocent. He was a person who had done great work for Muslims. He was always the one favoring the Muslims. He had spread Islam out to the farthest regions. He had spent his wealth on the Muslims. He had great love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and yet eventually this is what was done to him, and he gained the shahadat. And with that, it is also said that the barakah form, the Muslims also got lifted as well. And all the reason was because they didn't have patience. If they had agreed to give him that time to do the investigation, it would have never reached this stage.
So barakah got lifted this day, fortunately.
It is decreasing every other day. Sayyidina Naila radiallahu ta'ala anha, who was the wife of Sayyidina Usman at that time, she later on in the investigation had confirmed that Muhammad bin Abu Bakr had left the house. He wasn't there, and the 3 people who were there were not from Medina because she couldn't recognize them, and they were the ones who had carried out the thing. There were Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, in his later part of Khilafah, had troubled times. One of them I mentioned, but more than that, the trouble had happened from the way the historians have written things about him. And as you know, that history is as per the pen of the writer, and majority of the historians have been written, unfortunately, in Islam in the era of Ahl Tashi, when they were the Khulafa, Fatimi, they were in rule. That's when majority of the history have been written. And unfortunately, within them, there are those who are extremely anti-Umar and Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu because of whatever belief that they have. And therefore, they have created a lot of accusations on Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, which are extremely wrong. The 2 things that he is accused of is, number 1, that he had appointed number of his own relatives on key appointments of governors, which is also factually wrong, because majority of his relatives that were appointed as governors were appointed by Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu had appointed them, we can imagine, because of their merit, not because of any liking of Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu whatsoever. And Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu didn't change them as a governor once he became the Khalifa, because they were doing a fair enough job. And few relatives he had appointed by himself, but they were also meritorious decisions, not any favor. The other opinion, the other objection that is raised on him is that he gave a lot of wealth to his relatives. Now, that definitely would have been a source of objection if he was giving that wealth from Baitul Mal, because then it would have been that, why is he favoring his relative? Because this is Baitul Mal, this is government's money. But Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu gave all that wealth from his personal wealth. And we all know that how wealthy Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu was. So now if he is spending on the relatives, it is not a matter of any conflict. And one of the things that became a major conflict in the time of Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu was that there was an army that was sent into Africa to conquer those areas and spread Islam in there. And one of the areas which the army would conquer and move forward, there was one person in that area who would initially agree to Muslims that they would become, taxpayers, but later on would start a rebellion again. So the army would move forward, the rebellion would start, and they would have to come back and reconquer that place. Move forward, come back. Once it had happened 2-3 times, Usman radiallahu ta'ala sent one of his relatives, who was a qualified soldier, to replace the Salah, the head of the army, and say that, you become and deal with this matter. And he was a smart person, shrewd person. So he took the charge and he said that we need to identify the source which basically causes the rebellion to start. If we can get rid of the source, the rebellion will die as well. So long story short, he had announced that they identified the individual, and he had announced that whoever will bring me the head of this person, I will give him a big reward. 100,000 dinar was announced as the reward money. So now when the battle happened and the Muslims were spirited by the fact that they will get 100,000 as a reward, one of them executed the person and brought his head to the head of that particular army. So he said that, and he claimed that, give me my reward. So he said, okay, let the booty of war come through, and from that I will give you 100,000. So the rest of the soldiers said that, this is to be spread equally. No one person can get a reward. This needs to be spread equally. So this became a fiqh issue now. There were people who were saying that, it should be given from that booty, and the others were saying that no, this needs to be taken care of outside of that. Now, when it reached Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he agreed that Mal-e Ghanimat should be spread equally, but yet the soldier also needs to be given the money. And since that the head of the army didn't have the money to give on his own, to help him, he gave him 100,000 dinars of his personal amount, and he said that you pass that on to that individual. So this is how that the reality of that incident is, but this is taken as wrong. In any ways, we need to understand that Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu was Ashra Mubashara Sahabi, a beloved Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a great soldier and sponsor of Islam, from whom Allah had taken great works. And of course, Allah has given him the highest standard of Shahadeeth as well. And there should be nothing in our hearts but love for Sayyidina Usman radiallahu ta'ala. Akhiru da'wana.